Hello, I'm Kimberley Dondo, Digital Content Manager, and welcome to In Conversation With, the podcast series that delves into the world of financial services and brings you face to face with some of the most notable figures in the industry. Listen as we discuss topics that are currently facing the industry and hear from visionary CEOs to disruptive innovators as we bring you a diverse array of voices and perspectives. We'll explore the challenges they faced, the lessons they've learned, and the insights they have to share about the ever-evolving landscape of financial services. Hello and welcome to In Conversation With. I'm Kimberley Dondo, and in today's episode, I'm joined by Andrew Tully, Technical Services Director at Nucleus. Thank you for joining me today, Andy.
That's good to be with you.
So if you could give us a bit of a background into yourself and how you got started in financial services.
That's a very long time ago. So I've been in financial services 30 plus years. I hate to think how long. But a lot of that time has been in technical type roles, so helping advisors primarily understand the legislation, the regulation. There's always change going on in financial services world of pensions in particular. So it's just trying to understand the complicated and then just try and make it as simple as possible for people to understand.
Yeah. And we're going to be talking about a lot of those changes that are happening within kind of the retirement and pensions landscape. But I wanted to start off with the advice guidance boundary review. So what are your expectations for the upcoming review of the advice guidance boundary?
So I think if we start with kind of take a step back and think about the problem. The problem is not enough people are taking advice. So retirement in particular, when people get to retirement, but savings in general, but retirement in particular is a complicated area. People need help. Not enough people are getting certainly regulated advice, full advice, which is good. The best way of getting help is full advice. Not many people are doing that. But equally, if we look around even below that, the numbers of people taking guidance and speaking to money advice service and things like that is still too low. So we need to encourage more people to take advice. So the intent of this paper is good. So there's three main bits, which is trying to clarify the boundary between advice and guidance, talking about a level of targeted support that firms, which is either providers or potential advisors, can give to people. Mm-hmm. And that's probably, people like you might want to do something like this. So that's trying to give a level of personalized guidance to people. So sometimes guidance can be a little bit too vague for people. They want to know if what they're doing is right, or they want to know what other people are doing. So targeted support may well help them. So I think that the targeted support, I think, is probably the area that I would think is maybe the one of the areas that the paper looks at. That's probably the one that might move forward quickest. I think that's probably the easiest for people to implement. And then it talks about simplified advice. We've been around simplified advice a few times over the last 10 years. So I guess it's all about trying to find a way of delivering simplified advice. The concept potentially can be good is to try and help people with a specific problem that they have. So advice obviously looks across an individual's whole circumstance. Simplified advice might look at a specific issue that they have and try and help them with that specific issue. But as I say, we've looked at it a number of times before, so it's trying to figure out a way of delivering it this time.
And how do you see the revised framework affecting the way people work with their clients?
So I think it probably comes down to the way advisors work. So for a lot of smaller advice firms, much of this won't really affect what they do. They've got a relatively small client bank, people that they know very well. They're giving full advice to these people. So for some advisors, at least, a lot of this won't really affect the day-to-day work. Mm-hmm. But some advisors might want to be offering a more broad brush service to not just to high net worth clients, which is where a lot of full advice traditionally has been, but to try and offer a service to a wider range of people. And if what we can do, so I think if I was to look at one thing that we can try and achieve out of this, it's to try and bring more people towards full advice over time. So if we can bring them in at a kind of entry level as such, and show people the benefits of advice, I think that's very positive. I think what a retirement confidence index, which we might go on and talk a little bit about, was people were saying they don't necessarily know how to get to full advice. It feels quite a big step if people are not getting advice at all. To move from that to full advice feels quite a difficult leap for some people. So if these measures can help produce a pathway that people begin to go into, and then they begin to understand the benefits of advice and the value of advice, then hopefully it means that more people end up getting full advice somewhere down the line.
Yeah. And you touched on the Retirement Confidence Index. So drawing on those findings, what are the biggest concerns UK residents have about their retirement?
So a lot of it's really around confidence. People do lack confidence. So if we look at the overall score, so actually taking a step back, this research, we looked at people over 50. So it was a very targeted piece of research. So it was people over 50, so either approaching retirement or in retirement. And of that cohort, half of the people we talked to took advice and half of people weren't taking advice. Some people in receipt of income, some people not in receipt of income. So it was all around that retirement area. And if we look at the overall score, we got people to score out of 10 how confident they were. And the overall score was 6.9, which sounds reasonably high, and it was probably higher than we expected it to be. But if we look underneath that, it came with what we would call a negative outlook. So if we look underneath that, there's a range of factors which suggest people who are older were more confident, people with defined benefit income were more confident. And if we look towards the younger cohort, so the kind of 50 to 55 cohort with DC savings, they had significantly less confidence. So as DB begins to die out, the cohort coming through, it feels that they have significantly less confidence in their retirement. Probably the biggest impact that people said they have was having a plan. If they had a financial plan in place, then they were more confident. So that didn't need to be taking advice, that just needed to be having a plan about what they intended to do, what they wanted to do. Now, obviously, financial advisors will help that plan, but it's encouraging more people to get a plan in place. And certainly around financial advice, it was interesting that it wasn't all about money. So it was about people telling us by taking advice they had increased emotional well-being. They had a clearer sense of where they were trying to get to. So I think that's the bit that sometimes advisors maybe don't talk enough about. Is they talk, if you're looking externally, it's a lot about products and it's a lot about finances. Sorry, but a lot of what people are getting is actually the emotional well-being, the increasing confidence and things like that, and that's what advisors are giving them. So what we need to try and do, just going back to that, is to try and encourage more people to do plans, and by doing a plan, they might realise there's things that they don't know and they need to talk to people about to help them with those things that they don't know.
Yeah. Because I guess, your emotional well-being affects how you spend your money. So it all does tie in a lot. So how can financial advisors effectively address the concerns that the people that kind of came into the Retirement Confidence Index expressed, and encourage long-term planning as well?
So I think that's what advisors do. So that's what advisors do day to day. So the kind of people to me of least concern are the people that are taking advice because they are getting a good outcome when we ask people to rate good advice. So we're getting that was a very high rating. People who were getting advice were very happy about it. They were very comfortable about the help they were getting. So the key is to try and extend that out across more people. And obviously that's hopefully where the advice guidance boundary work can go to, is it can extend the reach of that advice. Particularly, I guess, towards younger people. So advice is probably concentrated, amongst the older cohort who've got greater savings, but we do need to try and help people at younger ages. So we've got automatic enrollment's been a huge success. I think most people would accept it's been a huge success, but what that means is that people are starting saving really with no engagement at all. So they're enrolled into a pension, they're put into a fund, they're not really engaged. And then we get to 55 with a DC pot that can be reasonably sizable in value. And we suddenly almost expect people to be experts about longevity and how much income to take out and all that kind of stuff. Hugely complex decisions.
Yeah.
And we really need a way to move people along that framework, because at the moment it feels quite unrealistic to take someone that's not being engaged at all for many years and suddenly give them horribly complicated decisions to make, and then almost be surprised when optimal outcomes aren't necessarily achieved. So we do need to put bits in play, and there's things like midlife MOT that's being talked about, but we do need to engage with people earlier in that process. So it's not retirement income isn't at 60 or at 65. We need people to be planning earlier. So whether that's 45 or 50 or whatever, but it's about beginning to plan earlier for your later life. And that goes outside pensions. That goes to things like inheritance tax planning and powers of attorney and estate planning. People think of those as things that you do in later life, but actually doing that kind of planning much earlier is much more sensible, because at least it's in place well in advance of anything happening.
I guess you have that template that you can keep adding to and improving as you move on in your life. So that would make sense.
Absolutely, yeah. It doesn't need to be a once and done decision just because you put in place a plan at 45. The guarantee is that won't be the same plan at 60, but at least you have a plan in place that you can then adapt as circumstances change and so on.
Yeah. And I also recently saw that research has shown that there has been an increase in demand for retirement advice, probably because people lack that confidence. And also due to changes such as, the LTA abolishment. So how do you think advisors can tackle this demand? Do they have the bandwidth, the capacity?
Yeah, so that's definitely, I think, definitely a challenge for some advisors who have a client bank and are largely just servicing that client bank and don't have capacity for more. Undoubtedly, I think that's true, is that there'll be more demand going forward for DC advice. So when people had a defined benefit or were buying annuities, that aspect was almost quite straightforward, because once that income was in payment, you didn't really need advice after that point in time. Where now people largely are DC, and certainly if we go 10 years out, the vast majority of people will have DC benefits primarily. It's not a once and done decision at 65, as it goes. People will continue needing advice throughout the 60s, probably throughout the 70s, and maybe even beyond that. So all sorts of later life planning. And that will involve advisors in different things, because they'll have clients who are going into cognitive decline and things like that, which historically they might not have encountered. So more vulnerable customers and things like that as people get older but still need advice. So advisors' models will have to change as they're advising people into later life. But yeah, going back to the bandwidth bit is that we definitely need to encourage more people into the industry. There are more academies being set up to encourage younger people into the industry, and that's certainly what we need to do. Hopefully, things like AI might help to some degree. We've certainly not really got there in our industry, but as we look forward, are there ways that we can do things, smarter, better, quicker, and take out some of the kind of paperwork, for want of a better description, and do things more online so things are more cost effective, and that might free up people's time. So
yeah,
and hopefully things like platforms will do that to some degree, is that we can make things easier for advisors, as we can take away a lot of the admin hassle from advisors, and that frees up more of the time to actually do the advising as opposed to doing the admin.
Yeah, definitely. So in your role at Nucleus, how have you found that you're working towards supporting financial advisors in navigating the evolving regulatory landscape and client needs?
So I guess that's what I and my team do. So that's our primary role, is looking at the legislation and regulation that's coming through, trying to work out what exactly it means, which isn't always straightforward, and then try and help advisors see what that is, what it means, what it means to their clients, and we'll do that through a variety of means. So that might be doing events to advisors to explain things, certainly written material, podcasts, however it is. So we're trying to do it across a range of different ways to get information in front of advisors. So big one at the moment is obviously lifetime allowance abolition. So it's a massive change. It's not particularly helpful. We seem to be in a little bit of a trend at the moment of legislative regulatory change coming through very quickly, and that's not helpful. It's not helpful for us. It's not helpful for advisors. I don't think it's helpful for end clients. It makes things so lifetime allowance is one example. We got draft legislation in December for a change coming through in April, and that's a very major change. We won't get final legislation probably till 4, 5, 6 weeks ahead of that change, and that's very difficult for advisors to confidently advise people who might need to take action before April, when they're doing that on the basis of draft legislation, and particular draft legislation that's got some holes in it at the moment. So advisors don't have an easy job at all. But we're trying to help them with things like that. We've also, at Nucleus, we've got an advisory board, so that's how we try to keep very much in contact with what advisors do. So the advisory board is 12 firms from across Nucleus James Hay customer base. They meet 3 or 4 times a year to discuss a range of industry issues. So that might be regulation, but it might also be things like proposition and customer outcomes. And the idea again is that we gain a much deeper understanding of what advisors are looking for, what they want from us, what we can do to support them in doing so. And an example might, consumer duty is obviously a big example of that. We spent a lot of time last year, as I'm sure all firms did. So we created an online hub to help, prepare and support planners and advisors to make sure they're ready for the new regulations. We partnered with the Verve Group to do, a series of webinars and advisors. So a series of webinars for advisors on things like that. So we're trying to give advisors help in understanding what's coming in and give it to them in a variety of ways to suit their needs.
Yeah. And I'm sure that it makes it more complicated, like dealing with regulatory changes, especially with the possibility of an election and whether, those changes will eventually again be changed.
It is, yeah. I think that, it would be nice to get more stability, and that came through very clearly in a retirement confidence index, is people lacked confidence in their retirement, but people hugely lacked confidence in the kind of market and the industry, and a lot of that was government just changed the rules, very regularly, so they couldn't see long-term stability, and that meant they lacked confidence to make long-term decisions. So yes, it would be nice to get greater stability. It would be nice to take that political ping pong a bit out of politics, out of the long-term savings market. So certainly as a business, we would like to see a long-term savings commission put in place to try and take some of that out of the political arena, make long-term decisions, and give that greater stability to give people more confidence, and that would be, I'm sure it certainly wouldn't be easy to happen, but it would be nice if we could get that bit more stability in the market.
Yeah, it's definitely on the wish list. And finally, can you share any insights on how Nucleus is innovating to empower advisors and improve clients' outcomes?
Sure. So the Nucleus aim is to be the best loved platform by advisors. So we are an advised only platform. Our strategy is all about using scale to invest. So we're investing huge amounts of money in supporting the needs of advisors, trying to support good client outcomes. We're re-platforming, as I think is widely aware. So we've got a new platform coming out this year, but alongside that, we're still investing lots of money. We've invested over 20 million over the last 18 months outside of the platform development. We spent a lot of money on that. We're reducing charges, so we've reduced charges to customers a couple of times over the last 18 months, and the aim would be to continue to do that as and when. So that saved customers over 5 million over the last couple of years. Frontline servicing is obviously a big thing. So we're putting more people into those frontline servicing teams to be more responsive to advisors. Cash is another area. So we've established a treasury function to try and actively manage cash. So and that's all about giving better rates of return, allowing customers to take advantage of the higher interest rates on offer, across a range of different fixed-term deposits, notice accounts, things like that, being able to easily move money between those different types of interest-bearing cash accounts. So there's a variety of things we've done, a variety of things we'll continue to do. So you can't stand still. You actually need to keep enhancing a proposition. It's a competitive market. I'll say we want to. We think having scale helps us and helps us deliver good outcomes. But we need to deliver good outcomes. We need to do what advisors want us to do.
Yeah. Sounds all exciting, and hopefully we'll be able to talk further about those outcomes later on in the year.
Absolutely, be very happy to.
Okay, well, thank you for speaking with me today, Andy.
Great, thank you very much.
Thank you for listening to In Conversation With. We do hope that you enjoyed it. Please do keep up to date with all our new releases via Podbean, Apple Podcasts, Spotify, and everywhere else you get your podcasts from. You can also keep up to date with all our new content published on the Money Marketing website, as well as our print edition Money Marketing magazine, so make sure to subscribe. Follow us on Twitter, LinkedIn, Facebook, and Instagram. See you next time.